Just when it seemed the international waters couldn't get any rougher, a new storm is brewing. The economic ground between the United States and Canada, a bedrock of stability for decades, has started to shake with an alarming intensity. We're not just talking about minor tremors here. This feels like the prelude to a major economic earthquake, one that could have far-reaching consequences for businesses, consumers, and the overall economic landscape of both nations. The implications are significant and the potential fallout demands a closer examination. This isn't just about trade figures and percentages, it's about real-world impacts on people's lives and livelihoods. What began as a seemingly manageable trade dispute, perhaps a minor disagreement that could be resolved with a few negotiations, has now threatened to become something much worse. It's like a small crack in a dam that's rapidly widening, threatening to unleash a torrent of economic disruption. The initial skirmishes have escalated into a full-blown trade war, with both sides digging in their heels and refusing to back down. The stakes are high, and the potential for collateral damage is immense. We're witnessing a dangerous game of brinkmanship that could have devastating consequences for the entire North American economy. The United States has followed through on its threat, a move that many hoped would be avoided. An executive order has been signed raising tariffs on a range of Canadian goods from 25% to a staggering 35%. This isn't a mere adjustment, it's a massive increase that will have a profound impact on the flow of goods and services between the two countries. The decision has sent shockwaves through the business community, with many companies scrambling to assess the potential damage. The implications are far-reaching, affecting everything from the cost of raw materials to the price of consumer goods. This aggressive move signals a significant shift in trade policy and raises serious questions about the future of the US-Canada economic relationship. This isn't just a headline designed to grab your attention, it's a seismic shock to one of the world's most stable and mutually beneficial trading relationships. For decades, the United States and Canada have enjoyed a close economic partnership, built on trust, cooperation, and shared prosperity. Now that relationship is being pushed to the brink, threatened by protectionist policies and escalating trade tensions. The consequences could be dire, potentially leading to job losses, reduced economic growth, and a decline in overall living standards. This is a critical moment that demands careful consideration and a willingness to find a path towards de-escalation. In this video, we're breaking down what this dangerous new phase of the trade war means for you, the average consumer, the small business owner, and the overall health of the North American economy. We'll delve into the specifics of the tariffs, examining which sectors are most vulnerable and how they're likely to be affected. We'll also explore the potential ripple effects, from rising prices at the grocery store to increased costs for manufacturers. Our goal is to provide you with a clear and comprehensive understanding of the situation, so you can make informed decisions and prepare for the challenges that lie ahead. We'll show you precisely which products are getting hit the hardest by these new tariffs, from everyday essentials to big-ticket items. We'll also examine how this escalation is starting to cripple businesses on both sides of the border, forcing them to make difficult choices about pricing, production, and employment. The impact is already being felt in communities across the continent, with some companies facing closure and workers fearing for their jobs. This isn't just an abstract economic issue, it's a real-world crisis that's affecting the lives of millions of people. We'll bring you the stories of those who are directly impacted, giving you a first-hand look at the human cost of this trade war. To truly understand how we got to this precarious point, we have to rewind the clock to February 2025. That's when the first shot was fired in this escalating trade war, a moment that marked a significant turning point in US-Canada relations. It was a decision that caught many by surprise and set in motion a chain of events that has led us to where we are today. Understanding the context of that initial action is crucial to grasping the full scope of the current crisis. A sweeping 25% tariff was imposed on a wide range of Canadian goods, impacting everything from agricultural products to manufactured goods. In addition, a 10% tariff was levied on Canadian energy exports, a move that directly targeted a key sector of the Canadian economy. These tariffs were justified by the US government as a necessary measure to protect American industries and jobs, but they were widely condemned in Canada as unfair and protectionist. The decision sparked outrage and prompted immediate calls for retaliation. Canada's response was swift, decisive, and unwavering. Prime Minister Mark Carney's government announced that it would not back down in the face of these unfair tariffs. He declared that Canada would stand up for its interests and defend its sovereignty. The Prime Minister vowed to take retaliatory measures against the United States, matching the tariffs dollar for dollar. This bold stance was met with widespread support in Canada, as citizens rallied around their government in defense of their economic interests. The stage was now set for a full-blown trade war, with both sides prepared to fight for what they believed was right. This isn't some abstract, theoretical debate confined to the hallowed halls of economics departments. This is a very real conflict, a clash of policies and priorities that has severe, tangible, real-world consequences for businesses, workers, and consumers alike. It's not just about numbers on a spreadsheet, it's about livelihoods, investments, and the very fabric of our interconnected economies. We're seeing the ripple effects play out in real time, and the stakes are incredibly high. The decisions being made today will shape the economic landscape for years to come. We're talking about the world's largest bilateral trading relationship, a partnership built on decades of collaboration and mutual benefit. Over $2.5 billion in goods and services cross the border every single day. That's a staggering figure, representing a complex web of interconnected industries, supply chains, and consumer markets. Think about the sheer volume of products, raw materials, and expertise that move between our two countries daily. It's a testament to the deep integration of our economies and the importance of maintaining a stable and predictable trading environment. This isn't just about big corporations, it's about the countless small and medium-sized businesses that rely on cross-border trade to thrive and grow. It's about the jobs that are created and sustained by this vital economic artery. Any disruption to this flow has far-reaching consequences, impacting businesses of all sizes and consumers on both sides of the border. For businesses, especially the small and medium-sized ones that form the backbone of our economies, this situation is nothing short of a nightmare. They're caught in the crossfire, struggling to navigate a rapidly changing landscape of tariffs, regulations, and uncertainty. These are the businesses that often lack the resources and expertise to absorb these shocks, and they're the ones that are most vulnerable to the negative impacts of trade disruptions. They're facing difficult decisions about pricing, production, and investment, and many are struggling to stay afloat. The stress and anxiety are palpable as they worry about their employees, their customers, and the future of their businesses. This isn't just about profits and losses, it's about the livelihoods of real people and the communities they support. Companies that built their entire supply chains across the border, optimizing for efficiency and cost-effectiveness, are now facing chaos and disruption. These supply chains have been meticulously crafted over years, even decades, to take advantage of the unique strengths and capabilities of businesses on both sides of the border. They're designed to minimize costs, reduce lead times, and ensure a seamless flow of goods and materials. But now, with new barriers and uncertainties in place, these carefully constructed systems are being thrown into disarray. Companies are scrambling to find alternative suppliers, reroute shipments, and adapt to a new reality that is far less predictable and far more costly. The ripple effects are being felt throughout the entire economy, as businesses struggle to maintain production, meet customer demand, and remain competitive in a global marketplace. Consider this: a single car part might cross the border multiple times before it ends up in a finished vehicle. It could start as raw materials in one country, be processed in another, and then assembled in a third. This intricate dance of cross-border production is a hallmark of modern manufacturing, and it's what allows companies to produce high-quality goods at competitive prices. But when you throw up barriers to trade, you disrupt this delicate balance and add unnecessary costs and delays to the process. Each time that car part crosses the border, it's subject to tariffs, customs inspections, and regulatory hurdles, all of which add to the overall cost of production. This can make it more difficult for companies to compete in the global marketplace, and can ultimately lead to higher prices for consumers. Each crossing now adds costs, logistical headaches, and a cloud of uncertainty that makes planning for the future nearly impossible. Businesses need predictability to make informed decisions about investments, hiring, and expansion. When they're constantly facing the threat of new tariffs, regulations, or trade disputes, it becomes much harder to plan for the long term. This uncertainty can stifle innovation, discourage investment, and ultimately harm economic growth. Companies may be forced to delay or cancel projects, reduce their workforce, or even relocate their operations to countries with more stable and predictable trading environments. The long-term consequences of this uncertainty can be significant, as it erodes business confidence and undermines the foundations of our interconnected economies. It's a situation that demands careful consideration and a commitment to finding solutions that promote stability and predictability in the global trading system. For the average person, the fallout from these trade disruptions lands right on your kitchen table and in your garage. It's about the rising cost of groceries, the higher prices for everyday goods, and the shrinking purchasing power of your hard-earned dollars. When businesses face higher costs due to tariffs and trade barriers, they often pass those costs on to consumers in the form of higher prices. This can put a strain on household budgets, especially for low- and middle-income families who are already struggling to make ends meet. It's a reminder that trade policy isn't just about abstract economic concepts. It's about the real-world impact on people's lives and their ability to afford the things they need. In the US, the cost of a new car could jump significantly because of the tangled auto parts supply chain. As we've discussed, the automotive industry relies heavily on cross-border trade, with parts and components moving back and forth between countries multiple times during the manufacturing process. When these supply chains are disrupted, it can lead to higher production costs, which are then passed on to consumers in the form of higher car prices. This can make it more difficult for people to afford a new car, which can have a ripple effect on the entire economy. The automotive industry is a major employer and a key driver of economic growth, so any disruption to this sector can have significant consequences. Overall, consumer prices are projected to rise, with some economists warning that sticky inflation could tick above 3%. This means that the prices of goods and services are increasing at a faster rate than wages, which can erode purchasing power and make it more difficult for people to afford the things they need. Sticky inflation refers to a situation where inflation remains stubbornly high, even after the initial shocks that caused it have subsided. This can be a major challenge for policymakers, as it can be difficult to bring inflation back down to the target rate without causing a recession. The potential for sticky inflation is a major concern for economists, as it could have significant consequences for the economy and for people's lives. This trade war is about more than just money. It's about the erosion of a historic alliance. The pillar of this relationship was supposed to be the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA. Yet, experts and officials on both sides argue that these tariffs are a direct violation of the agreement. Canadian leaders have called the tariffs unjustified, a feeling echoed by their counterparts in Mexico. The situation has become so tense that Prime Minister Mark Carney is navigating an incredibly delicate political tightrope. If you're getting value from this deep dive and want to stay updated on what happens next, take a second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The economic landscape is shifting, and with the US escalating the tariffs to a substantial 35% on goods originating outside the USMCA framework, a significant question looms large: what happens now? This isn't just a minor adjustment, it's a seismic shift that could redefine trade relations and reshape economic strategies for nations involved. We're entering uncharted territory, where traditional alliances are being tested and new strategies must be forged. The implications are far-reaching, affecting not only businesses and industries but also consumers and the overall economic stability of the region. Understanding the potential consequences and preparing for various scenarios is crucial for navigating this complex and uncertain future. The decisions made in the coming months will have a lasting impact on the economic well-being of all stakeholders. In this high-stakes game of economic chess, one of the most powerful cards Canada could strategically play involves carefully restricting its own exports of critical minerals and essential energy products. Canada possesses a wealth of natural resources that are vital to various industries worldwide. By controlling the supply of these resources, Canada could exert significant leverage in trade negotiations and potentially offset the impact of the US tariffs. This approach would require careful consideration and a deep understanding of global supply chains to ensure that the restrictions are targeted and effective. It's a delicate balancing act, but one that could yield substantial benefits for Canada's economic interests. The decision to restrict exports would not be taken lightly, but it remains a powerful option on the table. However, such a move would represent a major escalation, effectively turning the existing tariff war into a full-blown resource war, with potentially devastating consequences. This shift could trigger a much deeper and more protracted economic conflict, impacting not only trade, but also investment, employment, and overall economic growth. The risks are substantial, as a resource war could lead to retaliatory measures and further disruptions in global supply chains. It's a scenario that all parties would ideally want to avoid, but the possibility remains if tensions continue to escalate. The long-term implications of such a conflict could be severe, potentially undermining the stability of the global economy. Careful diplomacy and a willingness to compromise are essential to prevent this worst-case scenario from unfolding. Meanwhile, the USMCA, the trade deal that was initially designed and intended to serve as a protective shield against such trade disputes, is now showing its inherent limitations and vulnerabilities in the face of these aggressive tariff measures. The agreement, once hailed as a modern and comprehensive trade framework, is proving to be less effective than anticipated in preventing unilateral actions that can harm the economic interests of member countries. The current situation highlights the need for stronger enforcement mechanisms and a greater commitment to the principles of free and fair trade within the USMCA framework. The future of the agreement hinges on the ability of member countries to address these shortcomings and ensure that it remains a viable and effective tool for promoting economic cooperation and stability. Economic analysts and trade experts now increasingly view that substantial 35% tariff rate as a massive and intimidating cudgel that the U.S. can strategically wield over Canada's head, particularly during the crucial and highly anticipated upcoming USMCA review, which is currently scheduled for 2026. This looming review adds another layer of uncertainty to the trade relationship between the two countries, as the U.S. could use the threat of tariffs to extract concessions or push for changes to the agreement that favor its own interests. Canada must prepare for a tough negotiation and be ready to defend its economic interests. The outcome of the review will have a significant impact on the future of trade relations between the two countries and the overall stability of the North American economy. While the broad economic impact of these tariffs is a concern, it's crucial to recognize that it also masks the extreme pain and hardship being felt in specific targeted industries such as steel, aluminum, and auto manufacturing. These sectors, which are vital to the economies of both countries, are particularly vulnerable to the effects of tariffs, which can raise costs, reduce competitiveness, and lead to job losses. The impact on these industries can have a ripple effect throughout the economy, affecting suppliers, customers, and communities. Addressing the specific challenges faced by these industries is essential to mitigating the overall economic damage caused by the tariff war. Targeted support and adjustment measures may be necessary to help these sectors adapt to the changing trade landscape and remain competitive in the global market. Let's cut through the political noise. When politicians talk about imposing tariffs, they're taxing their own people and businesses. Some analyses suggest these tariffs could shave a significant amount off U.S. real GDP growth, representing a massive loss of wealth. Financial markets are reacting exactly as you'd expect, with fear and volatility. For Canada, the stakes are even higher. Some early estimates projected that a full-blown tariff war could lower Canadian GDP by nearly 2%. The Bank of Canada has acknowledged that while the country may avoid a technical recession, the economy will be on a permanently lower path. We are witnessing the deliberate dismantling of a partnership that took generations to build. The trade war that exploded in February 2025 has now entered a more dangerous phase. It's a conflict where businesses are caught in the crossfire and everyday citizens are left to pay the price. The central question remains, is this a temporary negotiation tactic, or is this the beginning of the end for free trade between these allies? What do you think? Is there a way out of this trade war? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.